What's happening? Andy here. I'm joined today by Mike Marusik of Sharp Electronics. How are you, Mike?
Good morning, Andy. Great to see you. It's been a little bit since we last talked. So once again, I just want to point out I did wear a sport coat for you. So I'd always like to look good for you, Andy.
You put on a nice shirt and everything. I was gonna say it sound, I know you must have other meetings. It's definitely not for me, but if it is, thank you. You look very, should I just say it? You look very sharp.
Oh, that was perfect. That was perfect. Thank
That's
you for
pretty
doing
good. All
that.
right, so we're off to a horrible start with that joke. It's been a while since we had you on the show, and you got a lot coming up. Last time I saw you, you were on a road show. You had what, 5 cities you guys did?
Yeah, we like to do these road shows, and we bounced around to really get face to face with dealers. I think the road shows are really I like them better, candidly, than the dealer meetings
Me too.
because you get more face to face time, and the dealers get a lot more input. Whereas the big dealer meetings are more us just talking out to people, and then you're running from a thing to thing. So yeah, they're very effective. You get to we went around the country visiting different regions and getting dealers feedback, presenting to them, what we're up to, what our strategies are, and then they kind of give us feedback. So, my favorite part, honestly, is we do a Q&A with the dealer owners for about an hour and a half. We just get in a room, and some are great. You walk out, and it's very, kumbaya. And then other meetings, I walk in, I see the pad come out with all the issues I'd like to bring. And that's great too. Different kind of great, but at least we fix them, right? So all good. But yeah, they're a lot of fun, and we I think all total we had like over 450 dealer people, attend the road show. So that's pretty successful for us.
Well, I love those, and like you said, it's just more intimate, right? I mean, you get
Yeah,
that one-on-one time with you, with your product people. They get to meet not just the dealer principals. You get another layer down, I think, of people at the dealerships that can come. More
exactly.
salespeople can attend. It's just a more affordable show for a dealer to bring his people to if he can drive it, and you're bringing the show to them instead of
To them.
going to, wherever we might be going, Orlando,
Yeah,
perhaps.
yeah. Yeah, we're still, we have a show this fall, and we are, honestly, we're looking at how do we revamp it to make it more representative of what we're trying to do. Because again, we do see the difference between a big meeting, with a big stage show and a more intimate meeting where we can do one-on-ones and really focus in on what different groups of dealers like. So, but yeah, we have a show in October, and we'll have more details about the agenda and things we want to do in it, but it really will be around like how do we get directly talking to the dealers about the issues that concern them right now. And honestly, the dealers are different. We have mega dealers and we have mid-sized dealers and we have small dealers, and every one of them is important to us. But you try to do one size fits all. You don't really hit anyone's key issues. So yeah, that'll be an exciting meeting in October. We're looking forward to it.
I like that. And what I do like about the big shows is it's sort of, and we don't have them as much as we used to. You're one of the ones that are still doing it, but it's your chance to flex. It's a chance to put all of your, products in one place for us to see them all together and how they work together. And, I think you guys have done a lot of those vertical market setups where we get to see maybe how education might work with your products and how different it might look in an office. And it's just really it's a chance to see it all in one place. And you don't really get to see that too often. Even at a dealer location, you're just going to see what they carry, right? But here we've got you've got your Dynabooks, you've got your I mean just everything, your new not so new production products, and just everything is on all your partners, right? Or under one roof. So it's a different meeting. I do like, the big meeting, but I prefer the little ones. They're much more
I agree.
manageable. It's just
I agree.
usually you come off the elevator, you're right there, everybody's right there, it's there's a place for both, but I prefer the small ones. They're
I
good.
prefer it. Yeah, I
So,
agree. I agree.
so you're doing the big one in the fall. And so we're catching you on your way to Japan, which is one of the reasons we want to have
Yeah.
this chat. And I thought, what a perfect way to, talk about tariffs, because I'm sure that'll come up on your trip, and you're probably sick of talking about it, but I'm going to ask you anyway. So let's talk about tariffs and what's Sharp doing about them. What's the thought?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think tariffs are probably the number one topic in the industry right now. It's so much fun. You're watching how they move and things like that. Back in April, we shared what we were thinking on tariffs. It was funny. I just as I was sending out the update to the dealers of here's our thoughts, here's what we're planning to do. I said, let me just check one more time that I got all my facts correct. I Googled real quick and I see the announcement on April 9th that, yeah, we're going to change everything now
Whoops.
and do a pause. And so, that's my life lesson now is before I speak to anyone on tariffs, I do a quick Google to make sure that I have the most up-to-date information. But, like a lot of others, yeah, we're going to raise pricing on June 1. And it's just that, you really don't have a choice. The key thing though is we're going to protect the aftermarket, right? We're not going to raise pricing on the aftermarket and parts and things like that. So that way the dealers have time. I mean, I know a lot of people say, well, they can do their escalations and things like that, but that's really not how the math works out for a dealer. And a lot of their profit and strategy and plan is around that. And so, we're trying to protect that as much as we can. But I do think it's going to be an interesting period. I think, we're going to eat the cost of supplies, and I think other OEMs are going to do that. And it's going to put a financial strain on a lot of companies, which I think will be interesting over the next couple months and maybe even this year, where companies that are under duress right now. That's a lot of money to have to absorb, and we're going to do it. But I do think it's going to start impacting the overall industry and things like that.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you think about it, and the first thing that pops in your head is like, well, okay, we're going to pass these prices along, and everyone's just going to pay more, and people are going to be paying more for everything. So it's not like we're going to be the only industry coming to them saying, tariffs increased our prices. But what really has made me concerned is, you got a lot of guys writing, and we just did some research on this, just a little study on the website, but the lease that gets written right now for a A3 machine is 5 years, right? And
Yep.
so these dealers and your branches for that matter, have priced things out for 5 years at a certain expectation of cost. Um, and so this kind of throws a little wrinkle into things when all of a sudden you've got these escalations. So you're going to hold off on that, which means your dealers will be protected from that as long as you can, right? I mean,
Yeah.
is that you? I don't think
You
you
know,
can
I, you know,
say,
I would love to say that's a permanent thing. I mean,
yeah.
nothing's ever permanent. I will say that that is the plan, and I don't see, any change that we're discussing. But you go a year out, 2 years out. I mean, you got to look at things and say somewhere the money has to come from. The business, right? You have to find a way on the OEM side to make money so you can continue to reinvest in your business, continue to bring products to your customers, continue to, provide the support they expect. So, I did a call with all our dealers. We did a couple calls. And, I said, hey, look, I'm not going to be embarrassed to say it. We need to make a profit. And, we need to make that profit so we can continue to reinvest in our business so that you will have a great product line in a few years. You'll have the quality you expect. And I think those are important things that, again, as I watch the challenges of the industry, it's going to put some companies under duress, and that will impact in a year or so, right? Quality, you'll start noticing the quality change. You'll start noticing product roadmaps get stretched out. So I think this is an opportunity, but we really do have to execute against it, and that's going to be the challenge. We have a plan, but we're not in control of that plan, meaning that the tariffs can change, adjustments can occur. And so we'll see what happens. But I think most OEMs are struggling right now with what's the best approach because it is, in fairness to all, it is unpredictable. So we do have to work through that.
Well, the quality is definitely something, that you see companies skimp on, and you guys are
Oh,
no
yeah.
different than anybody. I clearly remember looking at some products when, it's no secret you guys had some significant financial issues before
Yeah.
Foxconn came in and got involved with you, and the quality of your products have, I think, significantly improved from what we've
Oh, yeah.
seen from right when things were kind of bad to, here we are today. And just the build quality is significantly better. And that goes to your point, right? Which is, look, you gotta recoup the cost somewhere. And if,
Yeah.
if you've got to use some different quality parts,
Yeah.
different processes to put these machines together, then just to keep yourself afloat, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and we went through that. That's why I have a kind of a I would say unique insight of what others are going through is we went through that,
Yeah.
and you do have to make those decisions. And one of the things that always was on the mind of the Sharp executive team was, well, if the goal is to survive and be a prospering company, don't skip on quality, right? That because that, as you said, that's the lingering pain, right? That's the pain that will be there for many years, and you can't overcome that. So that was one area that was untouchable, but you do have to make other tough calls. And the one thing that was different at that time was we were in control of our own destiny. And I think, as you have these things like tariffs, you have this outside influence that just is, dumping. I mean, I think it's no secret, right? The OEMs make money on their supplies. That's really where the profit is in the business, and not so different than a dealer. And so that will, eventually something's got to give, right? The math just doesn't work. So something's got to give it at some point, and we'll see what happens. It's going to be a fun year. I keep I joke I've been in this role about 6 years, 6, 7. I don't remember now. And I picked some bad years. I mean, we had a
You
nice
got
year, then we had
hammered.
COVID, then we had some COVID, then we had COVID, then we had the supply chain, and now we have tariffs. So don't look at me for career guidance of picking the right time to make a move.
So what, what part of your product portfolio is affected by, how much comes out of China? Let's just say it like that. I know
Yeah,
you moved
well,
a lot
not
out over the
yeah,
years.
yeah, not a lot out of China. So on the copy side, very little out of China. We do have factories in China, but we also have factories in Thailand that allows us. So, obviously, and I don't think this is unique. We'll provide other regions out of China. Will come out of, the U.S. product will come out of Thailand. But there are accessories and things that come out of China that,
For
have
everybody.
the same for everybody. We share the same vendors. So, we're all impacted the same way. It impacted our display business to some extent. And we have some flexibility we're working with on Dynabook to move the business around. So, it I think though when I look at the overall tariff thing, I was happier, believe it or not, when they did the level tariff for everybody, with the exception of China, which we understood. But that you really didn't want to start making short-term decisions. So with everyone being level, you can kind of keep what you got until because we're all diversified, and then you figure out like, okay, let's figure out what is the real tariff and then what's the plan going forward versus this region signed an agreement, jump, and then you moved out of the place that signed a better agreement 4 months later. So I think that's going to be the challenge over next year is understanding where those agreements land, and what's kind of the baseline tariff, which I think has been indicated at 10%, to continue. So that will be the baseline, and then now you can start planning your business, understanding that, and hopefully we do a good job communicating with our dealers of, well, this is how it's going to impact us, and this is how it might impact you. So let's start working together to make sure that we're both in a good spot.
Well, that's one of the things you guys have done a good job with, especially as far back as COVID with the communications. That you hear that a lot, and you were very forthcoming with, things are just not going to be great sometimes, and you've delivered good news and bad news. So I'm sure that was greatly appreciated. When you look at these tariffs, so your deal is we're going to raise hardware a little as we have to, and we're
Yeah,
going to hold off and eat it on the supply and part side and try to keep you profitable, right? Which we'll
yeah,
see. We'll see what the other companies do, what kind of plans they have. Increases are going to come across the board for a lot of these Everybody's announced increases on hardware, as far
yeah.
as I know. Some of them have been pretty significant. Um, I guess it depends where your manufacturing is, really.
Yeah, it really does come down to where your manufacturing is, and candidly, I think is where your financial stability is, because there's a line of thought, and we've walked through it where if these are short term, hey, you can probably just absorb it a little bit for a while, and then move forward, and then there's the risk of, well, it's not short term, and you lost money and cut back on R&D and cut back on QA for a period of time, and it turned out that didn't work because the overall market stayed with the 10%. So I think we walked our dealers through it. We had maybe I was long-winded explaining to the dealers how it all worked, but I wanted them to understand how our entire process works A to Z, so that they can make decisions. And that was my big takeaway during COVID and supply chain is, if I gave the dealers information, they actually solved a lot of my problems for me. They're a lot more nimble, and so give them the information and they can go off and running. It's when you kind of play close to the vest, they can't do what they do best, and that's when you have problems. So we did an hour and a half call with twice, with the dealer groups, and really explained, here's everything we know, here's what we think, you can make great decisions, but we're going to be upfront with you about what our intentions are. So
Well,
I
I
think
just
that's
remember the spreadsheets that you used to show at all the
yeah,
meetings with the green and red and
yeah,
orange and yellow for your product codes and what was in stock, what wasn't in stock. And it was very, and you shared that with everybody, and your competitors were even in that room, in those rooms.
yeah.
So like you just were wide open with it and said, we just, we just got to get through it, right? Which was
Yeah,
great, which was
yeah,
great.
yeah, that was the funniest. I would love to say that we anticipated the problem or the solution, but we thought we should share with the dealers. But what was amazing, what we learned out of that was by sharing with the dealers where we had risk of inventory, the dealers didn't quote those products. Imagine that. Well, then we never ran out of product because
Yeah.
we said, "Hey, we might be low on these,
Yeah.
in 3 months." And they said, "Well, then why would I quote that?" So we never got low on that. They quoted the ones that we said we'd have plenty of stock on, and so they literally helped us solve our own problem. And that was like an eye opener to say, it really it pays to be completely transparent,
Yeah.
what's going on because they can solve your problems for you.
I agree. I think you guys handled it very, very well. Before I let you go, I want to find out what else you're going to be doing in Japan. I know tariffs will be a big part of it, but you're not just going to go there for that. So what do you guys, you're
Yeah,
bringing a whole
it's
team?
Yeah, it's going to be a flurry of activity. I mean, we just closed the year, and I'm sure everyone's watching all the finances come flying through, and Sharp had what I would call a mixed year. Our old, what I would call our legacy business, that we're divesting from, our device business, that wasn't great. We're exiting businesses, so obviously the sales declined, right? So overall, we were down 7%. We did make a profit as a company, but the future for us is branded, right? So our branded business, that was up 10% year over year. That's great. Profit was up 23%, 5.5% profit for a company. But then the group I'm part of, I like to, brag on, even internally at Sharp, but the Smart Office Group up 17% year over year.
Very
And,
nice.
and our profit was up 43%, a 6% profit for the year. So those are all good things, right? So now as you do things like make money, you reduce your debt, you pay down, your outstanding bonds and things like that. Now you have money to invest. So what are we doing next week? It's talk about where the investments go. It's okay. We're past the period where we have risk on those old device businesses. We're building our brand business. It's what products do we develop and accelerate? What new businesses do we get into that maybe we're touching right now but not fully invested? And then really, how do we leverage our diversification? As I was doing these slides, it's amazing. The fastest growing areas in both display and Dynabook is the MFP channel. And I know a lot of people watching this are not Sharp dealers. I will say huge opportunity on Dynabooks, and I will say Dynabooks because you have your Windows 10 support ending, and it is just going to explode over the next couple of months as that expires. Great opportunity for dealers. You have those customers. Go in with laptops. I would love you to sell ours, but hey, I like a strong industry. Sell somebody's, but I think it's a great opportunity for everyone in the industry. So those are the topics really we're going to talk about is how do we leverage what we have, but where do we fill gaps where maybe we need to improve?
Very cool. And then so by October, you'll have this wrapped up into a pretty package and you'll take us all down to Orlando and
Yeah.
show us what you were seeing and talking
Yeah.
about.
All tidied up in a nice bow. And
Yeah.
it's funny how you say that because that's really kind of how we map things out. We do our road show, where we kind of have our ideas and we kind of update everyone where we are. The dealers give us feedback. We go to Japan with that feedback, and then we tighten it up, and we have a full package. A couple of months later. So that really is kind of the formula we use: is get the feedback from the dealers. We might think we know, but it's always better to check with the dealers and then come back and say, okay, this is their feedback. This is a yes, that's a no. Let's really focus on these areas, and that's going to be the big focus next week.
Well, that's going to be, exciting. That's always a great show. It's one of the highlights whenever you guys have it every couple of years or so. We'll be seeing you. I'm sure we'll be seeing some people at BTA coming up in Albuquerque, New Mexico. You guys going to send some people there?
Yep, I'm going to be there. I will tout the BTA event. I'll invite
Awesome.
all sharp deals. I really owe Brent Hoskins. I'll give him a shout out. Sorry, but I'm going to be interviewing Emmett Smith at the BTA event, so that's going to be exciting. And then obviously spend some time. I like those shows. I really do because I get some opportunities to sit with the dealers, to understand our sharp dealers what's going on, and honestly sit at lunch or sit at these meals. You really hear what all the dealers are concerned about. So I get the Sharp feedback, which may be more direct about Sharp, but I also get the feel from other dealers about, hey, what's going on in the industry, what's on their mind, and that just makes us better.
They're great shows. I love the BTA shows. That'll be my second of the year. They're only having two this year, so get it while you can if you're watching this. And then a little after that, we'll be seeing you down. You guys are one of the title sponsors of our
Yep.
golf tournament, the What's Happening Cares golf tournament in Michigan at Oakland Hills. So you're one of the title sponsors. Thank you very much for that. And we'll be seeing a team of you guys down there, you and maybe some dealers or whoever you decide to bring. Are you going to make it? Or you're not sure yet?
I will be there because you're going to force me, but no,
I
looking
would love for
forward
you to
to
be
it.
there.
We
It's a
we have
summer,
a
it's summer, so I know it's tough for
it's summer,
people.
yeah, it's a full schedule, but yeah, like, looking forward to it. So
Well, that's awesome.
I love how I drop my plugs, you drop your plugs,
Yeah.
all good, all
It's at
good.
the end of the video. Nobody gets this far anyway, right? So this has been awesome. You are always so nice to come on here and share with us. You're just an open book. I appreciate it. I think people watching the videos that you're in with me and just everybody that you do them with a lot of people. You're very open to sharing what's going on in the industry and especially what's going on with Sharp. And as the CEO, I think that's important that companies will share with us what's happening. Right? We like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. It's great. And, I do appreciate you giving us this opportunity. I think the more the communication, especially right now with tariffs, I mean, we spent a lot of time today on tariffs. I think that the more the industry talks about it and is open with it, I personally get on every call with the dealers to, I feel like that's not something I should delegate. Dealers have a question or a problem or a concern. I think it's important that I hear it directly, but that's what the industry's got to be doing right now, help guide our dealers through this period. And they always find a way. The dealers are great. They always find a way to make to make money, to be successful, and to
Yep.
adjust. They just need the information. They can't. They got to have what the real story is from the OEMs, and they'll adjust and they'll figure it out. So that's really what I think we all should be doing right
They've
now.
gotten through everything, they're still here, they're thriving. They kept the country running when we had that pandemic. Like they
Exactly.
were they were going in masks and bunny suits and whatever to service those machines in hospitals. And they're the backbone of this country in some ways. And we'll get through this time. The tariffs are going to hit every industry. It's not like any customer is going to be like, what do you mean you're raising
Yeah,
prices for tariffs?
exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
They're going to see it everywhere. It's going to be a normal thing, unfortunately, but it is what it is, and it's going to be passed on. The consumers are going to wind up paying for it, and we'll get through it. I agree.
good,
I agree. Well, have a great trip to Japan.
good,
Say hello to everybody back at Sharp. Thank you so much for coming on,
good.
and I'll give you one last shout out to everybody. What do you want to say? What do you want to leave
Well, I
us?
just want to thank, I want to thank all our dealers for another great year. And, we keep on trucking and, our goal is, we keep saying to the team is like, hey, all our decisions have to be based on what we look like 5 years from now. How do we support the dealers? What's our long-term strategy? And you guys have been with us the whole way, supporting us. And so I'm just grateful for all the support. So thank you.
Well, on that note, thank you for coming on. This was awesome. Thanks for sharing, Mike.
Hey, have a great day, Andy.
You too.